Hello, Facebook Landia. Phoenix here with episode 22 of Behind the Mask. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, um, this is my social experiment of showing up, obviously, behind the mask with the intention to continue letting go of the armor that keeps me from being in touch with life and to continue removing the masks that I wear. I'm sure being human, you wear them too. Yeah, to support me in taking off the masks, to just like see what's there, like what's there, what's real. So, yeah, here I am behind the mask, episode 22. And today's theme that I want to talk about is being strong enough to be soft. I am strong enough to be soft. Last week I didn't show up, and that's okay. Some weeks I just don't have it in me. Some weeks don't feel like a week to push. You know, that's the dance between will and surrender. Will and surrender. And last week was a very, very watery week with the Pisces full moon portal calling us in. I was feeling very watery, very in the flow, and very surrendered, and made choices not to push, to show up, which is cool. And today I had a little more desire to just kind of push a little bit more, even though part of me is still very much in this soft place of dissolving. So yeah, what does it mean to be strong enough to be soft? It's one of my housemates. She's given that to me as my new mantra, and I'm so grateful to her for that. You know, she often tells me, "You're strong enough to be soft. You are strong enough to be soft," and yeah, I think I am, and that's actually what this show, this experiment for me really means. You know, like to continue allowing this inner strength to hold me so that the rest of me can be soft. You know, it's like we have this skeleton inside of us that's strong, fortified, that holds us up against like literally defying gravity, so that the rest of our muscles, our joints, our soft tissues can literally just be soft and surrendered. Yeah, so we can flow and be fluid. And how often in life do we kind of clench up, tighten up, armor up, resist, um, and have that be the kind of the MO that we meet the world with. Um, and I know I've done that, you know, for my whole life pretty much. Really felt the need to be strong, you know, in the face of like growing up in New York City, um, you know, growing up in a very kind of very Sicilian household where like people were very strong and very outspoken and very loud and powerful, and this sense that like my emotions were never really kind of supported or um, celebrated. Like I had this story that my vulnerability was a weakness, and so I built up these walls around myself, like can't be vulnerable because can't be weak. And I know I'm not the only one. I'm just really willing to talk about it, and I'm willing to look at it inside of myself and how that's shaped me and how that's sculpted me and how that's, yeah, really kept life out, kept love out. And if you've been following me, you know that this whole like even these show has started with the desire to like allow this softness to be the strength. You know, that's pretty much what this is, why I'm an advocate of. Like, how do we allow our vulnerability to be one of our greatest strengths? and it doesn't cease to inform. It doesn't cease to bring up all of those parts that have been kind of hidden behind, like as the walls begin to um, soften and dissolve. There's this like soft belly that's like, oh, feels really exposed, and then it allows these deeper wounds and deeper traumas to arise, to be seen. And how does one, me, hold those lovingly and tenderly? How do I hold those vulnerable parts of myself lovingly and tenderly, compassionately? Yeah. It's like being strong enough to be soft requires such a devotion to self, such like a deep self-love, I believe, because it's I within this kind of experience of myself that I'm the one who feels those kind of like ouchy, crunchy bits that like want to armor up and protect. And how can I be that coach, that loving witness, that like motherly presence? It's like, it's okay, I'm here. Like, we can be, these feelings are welcome, these feelings are valid. It's okay to be, it's okay to be soft. Like, you don't need to keep putting on the armor. And that's definitely something that I've been experiencing a lot lately. And, especially during this extended time of lockdown here in Melbourne, it's like there's nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. They're like to keep looking inside, which has become my spiritual practice, really, looking inside. And it's so interesting, from like I've never been so still. I've never been in one place for so long. I've often my whole life pretty much kind of traveled, kind of so outside, adventure, excitement, exploring, like questing what's out there. And yeah, that was very kind of luxurious and very kind of fantastic in a sense, you know? And there's nothing really that luxurious about kind of sitting still. I mean, for some of us, that's pretty turns us on, Though there's so much to see. Like, there's so much to see. This inner sphere, is so rich. It's so full of excitement, of possibility, of unraveling, of stories, many, many, many stories. There's so much to look at. And with the removal of so many of these external distractions of like going out and teaching or throwing events or being part of these really cool experiences, which I've known in the past, it's like, not really anything that exciting happening in here. Though there's so much good work that's happening, and nobody else can really see it. I can see it, I can feel it. And I would say that one of the greatest gifts that I'm receiving during this time is the remembrance. Maybe I didn't really know it, never really knew it, but I guess the recognition that I'm strong enough to be soft. Yeah, like there's something really, really cool about being squishy and welcoming the liquefaction process that's happening. You've probably, I talk a lot about working with the river and becoming the river. Yeah, for me, that feels like it's like my life goal. People want to have lots of money, they want to build empires, they want to have a family. So everybody has their own life purpose, life goal. And for me, it's like, I want to be the river. I want to be the river. I want to be so soft that I can just simply flow without resistance, without resistance. And I don't need to go far to meet resistance. I meet resistance just hanging out inside of myself, like living with six other people, engaging with other people that are kind of in my bubble, um, being an intimate connection with other. That's been really been showing me where all of my hard armored parts are, and the courage it takes to soften and lean in despite the trembling that happens when it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so exposed, I feel so vulnerable, this is so scary, oh my god, love is cracking me open. And it's actually all I really want is to be cracked open. And that's what the water does. Like, that's what it is to be softened, like a seed gets cracked open, it gets softened. Gets softened, and then it cracks open, and then it like takes root, and then it sprouts, and then it grows, and it rises, and it flowers, and it fruits. And is that what's happening? Is that what's happening inside of me? Am I like rooting into place? Am I like growing and rising and flowering? And yeah, it is. And the softening, it feels like the softening is what's actually doing that. The softening is what's actually allowing for the growth to happen. Because if I stay hard and fixed and armored and guarded and masked, like if I'm impenetrable, how am I gonna root? How am I gonna sprout? How am I gonna grow? How am I gonna rise? How am I gonna flower? Who's gonna get to taste my fruits if I am not willing to allow this hard shell, this tough nut to crack? So yeah, I've been cracking. It's kind of cool in some ways, I'm like that kind of wild woman at the top of the hill out here in kangaroo ground. Definitely, in some ways, getting more wild than ever. And in other ways, I feel like I'm being more tempered than ever. And not tempered in a way that's like, yeah, that's like conforming to anything. I feel like I'm being tempered in a way that's allowing me to be more wild and free than I've ever been. And yeah, it's like this, uh, this like softening rather than bracing against everything. It's like a couple of weeks ago, I was feeling so like on edge of what was going on in the world, and it's all still happening. But more and more, it's just becoming like surreal, illusory. It's all changing so quickly. So holding on just feels like it's too much work to just keep on holding, just keep on holding on. Thanks, Sarah. To just keep on holding on. It's just so futile. It's like, what's the point? Just let it go. Something else will happen. Something else happens. If I can just sit and be within this inner sphere, something else happens. And yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I was really bracing. Like, I need to know what's going on. Like, let me try and hold on or latch onto something. And it's like within that tumult, within that tumultuous kind of unraveling, unfurling, is this like still space within. This still space within. And yeah, I've kind of got like a one-way ticket there. That's really my it's really my prayer, is to just keep on allowing myself to kind of move beyond the chaos, or even like kind of spiral in through the chaos into this like center of the storm where it's calm and it's peaceful, and there's like infinite possibility, and there's inner truth and inner knowing and a depth of listening that is independent of all of the kind of noisy distractions that is out there. And that's, that willingness to soften is actually required to kind of move into the center. Like a bracing is not going to get me there, it's not going to get anybody there. It's an illusion. Like the strength, oh, we're so strong, it's like it's almost becoming comical. Like the softening is where it's at. Like, who likes a hard fruit? Like if you have like a hard fruit that's unripe, like a hard pear, or like, I don't know, hard mango, or I don't know, all the millions of fruits, hard avocado. It's not as good as if it's ripe and soft, Like, just seriously, nature doesn't lie. Like, the softening, the ripening is where it's at. And so I feel like that's what I'm traveling with at the moment. Softening, this softening. Because when I'm soft, like I can literally just allow myself to take those paths of least resistance. Like I'll just kind of like flow over here, and it's all good. Like there really is no problem. Kind of on a meta level, there really is no problem. We're kind of floating through this kind of infinite space, and yeah, the meaning that I give to it is the meaning that it takes. And so the meaning that I'm giving to my life right now is that I am strong enough to be soft and let love in and let life in and let whatever is here touching me to move in and through, and let that shift and let that change and let that pass. And can I move through life with this openness, with this softness, rather than like bracing and fighting? And I swear I feel the difference. Like I've had some experiences this past week in particular, where in the past, like if I didn't get my way or I wasn't understood, it'd be like temper tantrum, like little Lydia from inside would just be like, I want my way. And this kind of maturing phoenix in me, she's just like, kind of bored of that. Bored of that pilot, bored of the temper tantruming pilot that's been running the show. Like, let's take this like chill, soft approach and see what happens. And what I've been experiencing is that I'm being met by life in ways that I could have never expected. Like, harmony is possible. People are willing to see me more clearly when I'm not kind of like using my strength as my kind of armor. I know I'm strong. I don't need to prove that to anybody. I've got strength because I've been fortified. I've been forged in the fire. I've been like forged by life. So I don't need to prove to anybody my strength. It is my nature. I am strong. And I am strong enough to be soft. And that right now feels like the greater challenge, to allow myself to keep on getting pierced by life, pierced by love, pierced by connection, pierced by other people's vulnerability. Can I be a safe space for other people to also be soft, rather than allowing this kind of like, I'm so strong and impenetrable mask to be what actually keeps people away, because it's not very inviting. So, yeah, how do we allow ourselves to anchor into the strength so that we can be soft? That's very interesting to me and very exciting from up here on the hill. Literally overlooking, literally, like I can see Melbourne from my window, the whole skyline. Um, yeah, yeah. So for whatever is going on out there in the world that's causing many of my brothers and sisters to kind of clench and tighten and resist and armor up and clench. It's like let's soften. Let's see what happens. Let's soften. Let's see what happens. Let's bring our emotions up and bring them up to the table. Let's like hang out with them. Let's see what they have to say. The other day we had a house meeting here, the lighthouse, and it was a very kind of, oh shit, it was different kind of beliefs and perspectives around what's going on in the world and how do we kind of co-create harmoniously. And I had a suggestion, like, why don't we just, before we gonna go into this logistics meeting, why don't we just gonna put out onto the table what we're really feeling, like what's underneath this, this fear, this terror, this uncertainty, there's a lack of control, there's a non-knowing, there's a, concern about what's going on out there, there's a concern about our choices, our free choices, like, what's really running the show? Like, what's really running the show, and how do we armor up and like use our strength to kind of keep those real vulnerable like undercurrents dammed? How do we like open up the dam and allow those undercurrents to be welcomed into the space so that I can see you, you can see me, I can hear you, you can hear me, we can feel one another and what's actually going on beneath the surface? Because even though you don't see what's going on beneath the surface, like it's happening, like there's a lot going on beneath the surface, sometimes even more going on, most often even more going on beneath the surface than this facade that you see on the top layer. So I'm interested in revealing what's beneath the surface, really interested in revealing what's underneath the surface, because that's actually like, that's so strong and so powerful. It's actually what controls, if not dictates, a lot of the ways in which we move through the world. So rather than kind of like keeping them dampened or like tapped down, how do we allow them to come up and be present, like at the round table with all my other selves, like the terrified one, the powerful one, there's so many, so many, so many. The angry one, the one that's good at delegating, the one who's really organized, the one who's just like, oh, totally wild and free and doesn't want to have a fucking bar of any of it. Like, how do I welcome all those parts of me up to the surface and bring them, in my interactions with life, with the people around me, and let people see, like having the courage to show our vulnerable bits is actually really, really a huge strength. And I can say this over and over and over and over, and I will, because that's what I'm about. Like, that's one of the things I'm really passionate about. One of the things I really advocate is allowing our vulnerability to be one of our greatest powers. And if you really think about it, that's what most people actually use all of their strength to keep hidden from the world. All of the strength that gets utilized to keep what's vulnerable suppressed. All that usable energy can be used for something far grander, far more supportive, collaborative, in service to self and other. So yeah, I'm gonna end there. I am strong enough to be soft, and I welcome all of you to acknowledge that you too are strong enough to be soft. Blessings. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.